Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Built Different podcast. This is Ira Feuerstein, your host. And you all know we get to speak to some really amazing people here on this podcast, all about entrepreneurship and how to grow your business and all about all the arrows you take in the back along the way. And today, I'm really excited to have Rohit Tyagi here today, who's the founder and CEO of SagEx. Rohit, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ira. My pleasure.
No, thanks for joining. So let's jump in. I know your company because I've been researching it online, but for the people viewing, tell us a little bit about what SagEx does.
Sure. So, well, thanks for having me. First of all, it's a pleasure. And anytime we get a chance to give back to other entrepreneurs, it's really awesome. So SagEx team is a professional services company. We provide IT solutions to pharmaceuticals and biotechs. We specialize really in the emerging market. So our ideal customer is anyone from, a startup, 50 employees, all the way to about 1,500, 2,000 employees. We feel like this is where companies, as they are growing, they need the most help with strategic consulting. They need help with, as their business is growing, sometimes they're just not able to outfit the team as fast as the business is growing. So they do rely on outside consultants, and that's where we specialize in. So that's in a very short nutshell. The areas that we specially provide expertise in is computer system validation and all areas of quality management within pharmaceuticals, and also in lab informatics. So we, within the labs, there's enterprise systems that we implement, maintain, administer. That's how our business is set up.
So it makes sense that you're going after sort of that startup or the ones who haven't grown real big yet because they're not sophisticated enough generally to do some of the things you could bring to the table, I guess.
Yeah, very much so. So, think of it like this. You may be an executive coming in and you took up this new position as a VP of IT at a company which is like 200 people, right? Now, you might be coming from a big pharma where you had a very elaborate structure, you had a team, you had resources at your disposal at all times. But now coming into an outfit like this, you have a lot more responsibilities on your shoulders. So you're wearing multiple hats. However, the organization has not reached that maturity where they are able to provide you with the structure of the organization that you're used to. So at this point, you may not have a headcount to start hiring people, but you can certainly rely on consultants and agencies like ours to provide that, fill those gaps in the basically the work.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Now, can you do me a favor and walk me through your role and kind of how it fits into the bigger picture of the company?
Well, so I'm the founder and CEO. I'm still very much actively working within the company. I still deliver projects. I guess it'll be good with if I give you a quick background of how I kind of got into it. So I was an independent consultant for many years. I started a career in pharmaceuticals about 25 years ago. And over time, I worked at numerous corporations, mostly in big pharma. Then around 2016, 2017, I got the opportunity to start working in small biotechs. And that's when I really came alive because I felt before that I was just kind of like a cog in the wheel, so to speak, of a big machine. But once I joined, these small biotechs, my role expanded. I was given more responsibility. I was asked to do more, and I really enjoyed it and I embraced it. Uh, Starting my own company, my goal became basically filling those roles, but now as a corporation for other companies. So instead of me just working as an independent consultant, we will basically provide a team, depending on the size of the project or the size of the job that you have, and we'll basically help and come in, do that for you. Give you an example. You may be building a new lab in, a new facility, right? And you're implementing maybe 20 to 30 instruments. Well, that's a big job that needs to be implemented, coordinated with the vendors, the electrical, the whole build out of the facility. So in that, there's numerous people involved, but we can take over the role of basically installing those systems, validating, qualifying them, and getting them ready for GMP use.
Nice, nice. And like, what does a typical day look like for you in the role of CEO? What are you typically doing?
So as a CEO, like I was giving the example of our customers, as an IT executive, you're wearing multiple hats. So as a CEO of a startup or a small company that's still growing, I wear multiple hats, as you can imagine. I would say, if I break down my day, about 30 to 40% of it is on business development. So I'm still making calls, I'm still fielding calls, emails, responding to customers, getting feedback from the latest completed project and whatnot. And about 30 to 40% is managing my team. So I'm also kind of allowing them to shadow, because whatever you do in your company, you're not doing it for yourself. You're really just doing it as to be able to teach it to somebody else. So that the goal of a CEO is not to forever be doing the same things in their business. It's basically gradually elevate from what you're doing right now, so that you can then have a higher perspective over your business and then move those current roles and responsibilities to people in your team. So I would break down my goal: about 40% is team management, 40% is still business development, and 20% delivery work for our customers.
Okay, great, great. Let's pivot into kind of industry, because the life sciences health industry is obviously, it's changing at a very rapid pace. You got AI changing things up, and there have to be some major shifts you're seeing in the industry. What would those be right now?
Well, the major one you just named, AI, is the biggest change right now. It's not just our industry, I think, across the spectrum. Um, the utility of AI is so vast and so varied in different areas. And if you think about a pharmaceutical company, right? If you think about the entire drug development process, it starts from just pure research, right? This is where you haven't even found a molecule yet. All the way you work towards where, okay, you have a final formula, you're going to now start production. And from that point, it's a whole other industry of commercialization, which is in itself as big as the manufacturing part, you know? So it's vast. And there's so many areas where AI will actually make an impact. Because, it's just numerous, hundreds and thousands of workflows and micro workflows that AI can impact. So the biggest shift that I'm seeing, Ira, is definitely with AI coming into the picture. But outside of that, right, if you really study life sciences, it's already the breakthroughs that are happening in, some of these gene therapy companies and cell therapy companies and gene editing. They are absolutely mind blowing. I'm more mind blown by those things than even AI. Like, being an IT person, when I go and talk to scientists and I hear about all these advancements, like splicing a gene and, putting
Yeah.
a neurotransmitter on it and sending it into your body so that they can deliver a drug to a specific cell, it still boggles my mind. I still feel like these guys are like absolute heroes at geniuses at what they do, So I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of them, and I'm never not shocked and surprised and by them.
Yeah. So how has this AI trend affected your growth strategy in any way?
So there's two things, right? So first thing is we started developing our own AI tool that aids us in what we do, right? So we got it to a prototype. I invested 100% of my own money. I didn't raise anything because I had an idea and I wanted to just build a proof of concept. I got a grant from Amazon. Like if you host it on AWS, they match your investment. So we were able to get it built to a certain level. However, the shortcoming where we had was that I was relying on external developers only. And I think when you're building a tool, one thing I learned from that experience is that at least you have to have one partner who's the developer. Because if you don't control the actual build of the tool, then you really are not building a tool. You're basically just having someone build something for you. And, it just takes so long to even explain what you want, right? Just giving the requirements. So first thing is we were building our own tool. We still have it. We have the prototype and we're talking to a lot of companies about, demonstrating it and getting their feedback. But I think what is more exciting is that there are companies already out there that have the technology, but they don't have the basically inroads into the pharmaceutical industry. And I think it's the best part that I'm looking forward is that we have a few opportunities where we can partner with someone and provide solutions that really make an impact in patient safety and, product quality. So it's a few of those candidates that we're working with right now. And I think that's really going to impact and help our customers.
It's fantastic. Let's talk a little bit about growth because I think this is the big place people struggle with as being entrepreneurs. It's a slog. It's hard work and it doesn't always go good and it's not always pretty. But, in your business, what's working well for you right now from a growth strategy?
So yeah, that's a good question. The last 18 to 24 months have been pretty tough across the industries, right? It's not just life sciences. It's pretty much, you keep hearing stories of layoffs. You keep hearing stories of, cut downs, budget cuts, and it's happening across the board. I think I see signs of that improving, changing in 2026. But during those times, the one thing that I learned in the last 2 years is that as a leader of the company, you have to go back to the time when you were starting and what you were doing and go back and be able to be willing to repeat it. Like never get too big for your own britches, as they say, right?
Yeah.
There were things that CEOs and founders are willing to do when they're just starting out. And I'll give you a quick story, right? As you grow, as you get to a different size, never delegate completely all of that growth to your team. Always remember that you are still responsible until you reach a point where you really now are ready for delegation, especially the growth. I'll give you a quick story. When I was brand new, we were just about 2 people in our company, and we were working anywhere I could to find leads, to find opportunity. I was working my network. I was doing everything I can. I was hitting my personal contacts. And at that time, there was a very outside chance that we might have a customer in Boston. So this is right after COVID. So COVID has just kind of fizzled down. Flights are started again, but it's like social distancing. So remember that time when we were sitting in planes, but everybody would have their own row and we would have to have
Yes.
a mask. So you have like 2 people in between. And I remember I got on a plane. It was this tiny plane. I had my own seat because it was a 2-2. And I flew to Boston. And what I told this one potential customer is that, hey, I happen to be in Boston. We should have dinner together. Right. And he's like, okay, well, now he's like, I'm already there. Sure, we'll have dinner. And the guy, my contact who basically arranged that connection, I told him the same thing that, hey, I'll be in Boston. Why don't the 3 of us have dinner together and we can talk? And he's like, sure. So after I said that, that's when I booked my ticket. So there was no plan that I was going to be in Boston, right? So anyway, I booked my tickets. I end up in Boston. I'm in a hotel. I'm the only guest in the hotel, right? They have no staff. They have just one person working the front desk. And I check in. Now that evening is my dinner. I get a call from the customer saying that my wife has COVID. I don't think I should come out, right? And I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem. We can meet, we can talk to you on the phone. And my friend who arranged the contact called me and he's like, I have COVID. So I
Oh
can't
my
come.
God.
So think about this here. I flew an hour and a half, 6 hours really, if you count the drive from the home. And I'm sitting in a hotel. I'm doing the same Zoom meeting that I could have done from home. But I think the commitment that I showed that I'm already in the city and all of this stuff, I had that meeting. Long story short, we got that contract. That customer is still one of our customers 6 years, 5 years later, right? While I was at the hotel, I got a phone call from another another business that I had been pursuing for months. And they called me and they said, hey, remember you had talked to us about project management services? Do you still provide that? Do you still have that project manager available? And of course, what do you think I said? I'm like,
Of
sure I
course
do.
we do.
Of
Yeah, of
course we
course.
do, right? And I called my wife right after that. I'm like, you know what? I'm traveling all the time, man. As soon as I get out of the house, the story is right. I've read this that when you do everything you can from your side, right? When you exhaust all possibilities, that's when the universe moves and makes way and makes miracles happen for you. I really believe that. I don't think it happens if you just kind of wait for things to happen. You have to sometimes go out and make things happen, you know?
Man, I absolutely love that, Rohit. It's been my belief forever is like as an entrepreneur, it's better to take action, whether it's a good or bad idea, than to take no action. Because if you take action and it's a good idea, you get a client. If it's a bad idea, you've learned from that. And now you could do something different the next time. But if you don't take action, you get nothing. And so go ahead.
I want to say something to independent contractors. See, this is a passion of mine. Independent consultants is one of the people that I admire the most because think about it. They basically gave up a job and they just said that, I have so much confidence in my ability. I'll just stake it out. Let's see what happens. And I know that I'll get enough projects, enough work, and I'll make more money than my job. And I'm willing to buy my own insurance and all of that stuff. I'm willing to take that risk, right? But the one thing that I recommend that they do, I see so often they are hesitant to travel, to go on site when needed to go to a conference. What I recommend to independent contractors is like you cannot think of yourself as a independent contractor. You have to think of yourself as a business owner. And if you're not going to meet people, if you're not going to meet new opportunities, how are they going to flow you? So any chance that I would get that I could go to a client, even if I had to pay out of my own pocket, I would jump on it immediately because I know that the more hands I shake, the more people I meet when I'm on site, the more people I meet at the airport, the more people I meet at a conference. That's my network. That's how I will get business at some point. I'm not counting ROI with every trip I make. No, it's just you putting yourself out there, letting people know that you're out there.
Great point. Because I think in business, relationships matter and relationships win always,
100%.
always.
100%.
So let's talk a little bit more about like, what do you think is slowing the company down from a growth perspective?
I think I wouldn't say anything is slowing it down. I think what we have been in is, see, like I was talking to one of my friends who's a top executive at one of the largest consulting firm in the world, right? And we were having dinner, and he said that, and they're feeling the crunch. They laid off 20,000 people, right? Everybody's feeling. So one thing he said is that, see, in our industry goes as our customers go, right? So if they are constricting, we will feel the ripple effects, but it's usually 3 to 4 months after because it takes time for that effect to kind of
Yeah.
come over to us. So I think we've been very fortunate that even through the downturn, we've maintained some excellent customers and basically had a great year again. And 2025 has been one of our better years. But we had to make some changes. We had to pivot. We had to stop spending on a lot of things. Had to, uh, we had to basically go back to the drawing board and say that, okay, let's take a look at it again, because just like anybody else, you can get spoiled sometimes. You can get a little bit careless. Things are going well. So you're like, okay, we'll do that also. We'll do this also. But this last 12 to 24 months, what it has taught me is that go back to the drawing board and isolate what are the most profitable, what are the most revenue producing, what are the most impactful activities for SagEx, and then double down and triple down on those. And anything else, let's slow down over there. Let's not expend energy, resources, money in those areas. So I would say is that it's been in a time of reflection and adjustments and pivoting. And right now we are basically, getting ready for another growth.
It's awesome. So from a growth perspective, what metrics are most important to you that you watch?
The number one is successful project completions, like our delivery, right? So we are a professional services company. So the number one metric would be how many projects do we have? How many did we finish on time? How many did we get, 5 out of 5 in customer satisfaction? How many did we complete under budget? And how often are we able to get the next contract from the same customer? So that's my number one metric is a successful delivery of a project. Because, in professional services, right, Ira, there's nothing differentiating one company from another but trust. So as you build trust with one individual, that trust is now your currency to be able to get future work. And how do you measure trust? It can only be through your work. I've heard somebody say that people will give you a chance based on whether they like you, right? But they will only work with you if they like the work that you do, you know?
Yeah. It only goes so far.
You only go so far. You and I can cut it up and have a great time, and you'll be like, Rohit, you know what? I'll definitely give you a chance. Why don't you come in my office, pitch me, right? But you might give me a chance for a small project, and if I don't deliver, I'm never going to get a call from you again.
Yep. 100%. So if we fast forward, so we're at the end of 2025 here. If we had a crystal ball, we fast forwarded to the end of 2026, where do you want to see the business at?
So I won't divulge in actual numbers, but if we talk about percentages, we are looking to, in 2026, our current goal is to grow by 50%. So every metric, every KPI that we measure, right? Revenue, profit, margins. Well, margins, we want to sustain the margins that we have. We want to increase it a little bit, but revenue and profit, we want to increase by 50%. The number of clients we want to increase by 50%. And the number of project at each client, we want to increase by 50%. And I think we can definitely do that, because the way we came up with this goal is we went back and looked at our best year. And our best year was 2023. So 2022, at the end of 2022, beginning of 2023. And in 2023, we had a growth of about 75, 80%, something like that, between 75 and 80. And we looked at our worst year, and we looked at our worst growth year, and we took the average, and we came up with that, you know what, we can grow 50% in 2026. Here's the game plan. Here's how we're going to do it. Here's the number of customers that we already have. Here's the new customers that we're going to go after. Here are some conferences, some business development, events that we will target. So we have a game plan in place to hit those targets.
Wow, 50% is very good. I mean, I don't know what the industry looks like, but I guarantee it's not 50%. I don't think it would be.
Yeah, I would say that for a company our size, 50% is an aggressive goal, but it's an achievable goal.
That's
But
great.
yeah, if you were like an Accenture, I know that's impossible.
Yeah, yeah. But again, it's all scale, right?
Yeah,
Those
exactly.
companies are so large, it's to get a 50% growth almost impossible.
Right.
For them, 20% is probably really good year.
Oh, beyond. Yeah,
Yeah.
that'll be amazing for them.
So let me ask you this. If you could change one thing that's holding the company back from hitting that 50% growth goal, what would it be?
Number one is hiring. So what I've noticed is that as you grow, your team is basically everything that you have to grow your company. You know, if you start replacing yourself with people that it will take you so long to train, so long to get to a level that's even at 60 or 70% of what you do, then you're not going to be able to grow. You really have to find competent people that show an attitude and an attributes that they can learn and start working with them. So the number one place where I would make a change is hiring. I'd be much more careful and intentful, like on how I hire the right people in different roles. And the second thing is the type of people I'll hire. In our industry, especially in professional services, the first area where you want to hire someone is actually delivery people, not salespeople, not marketing people, not social media people, none of that. And that's something that I had to learn back in 2023, is that those things are cute, but what really is our number one metric, like I say, is delivery, right? So I want to make sure that if somebody's replacing me to work with Ira, that person is going to represent SagEx the same way that I represent, or at least close to it, right? So that's number one. And second thing is, like I was saying, don't delegate the growth part. I still have to be out there making those connections and making sure that I'm still in the forefront. Our company is at the size where I have to be the face of the company in terms of business development. So that's the second part that I would change.
So before we wrap up here, I want to ask you one last thing. We always try to end with something really profound that we can help our viewers with their business. And I always like to ask, like, what is one tip that's helped you grow your business? Something that, somebody listening today can literally put into practice like this week.
There's so many things, right? So I'm trying to see what is the one thing. The one thing from my side, right? This is me personally, is that take responsibility. Nobody has to tell you that you need to be accountable and you need to be responsible, right? You have to be willing to take responsibility for the growth of your business. And if that means taking multiple trips, if that means taking out a loan, if that means hiring someone, if that means you doing the accounting, you doing the paperwork, you doing the payroll, you doing whatever, right? The beginning stages or at any stage of your business as an entrepreneur, you have to be willing to take full accountability and full responsibility. You can't blame. You can't say this economy. And I've had phases, man. I've had phases where I've blamed and I've been trying to play the victim card, but I
It's
snap
human
out of it
nature.
very quick.
It's human nature.
It's human nature, right? It's like, oh my God, like, we did everything we could to get that contract and we didn't because so and so knows someone and they went with their person. Well, you know what? So many times I've gotten a contract because I knew the person. So the thing, like you said earlier, if you take action, either you win or you learn. What did I learn from this contract process? Can we make it a little bit better? Let's evaluate. How did we was our presentation lacking anywhere? Was the paperwork that we submitted not convincing enough? Somewhere the customer didn't feel certainty with us, but they felt certainty with someone else. So take responsibility for those things. So I would say is that if you're in business, take full responsibility for all aspects of your business.
I love it. I love it. Thank you for sharing that. That
Absolutely.
was really profound. That was really good.
Thank you.
So, all right, everyone, if you enjoyed this conversation, this is what I want you to do. Make sure you like the video, you subscribe, you share, you do all that stuff because we want to get more people viewing this, not for us, but for the entrepreneurs out there who want to learn something and may be struggling. And remember, we have a lot more conversations coming up with some amazing people coming your way. Rohit, thanks again for joining me today. You are absolutely a rock star. This is one of my favorite ones so far, and I don't say that often.
Thanks, Ira. It was my pleasure. And I appreciate you doing what you're doing. I think this is a great cause.
Yeah, it's great. Thank you. And then for everyone watching, you know what I'm going to tell you. I always end it with this. Now it's time to get off of YouTube or off of LinkedIn and actually go make a decision and do something, right? Go build something great because that's what entrepreneurship is about. It's about building something great. So get out of here and go do it. Thanks for joining, everybody.
Have a night.